It's been about a year since you've last seen this larch, when I repotted it, and if you're still here watching, well, thank you, because quite a lot has happened since the last video, and just not always online. Now, some of you might have wondered where I've been, or some of you might have wondered where I've went, whether I'd even stopped doing bonsai, or even just quietly given up on it. Well, neither's happened. Life just got a bit full. And at the same time, the trees gathered on. Those trees just carried on regardless. So back in January, we had some storms coming through. Storm Garotti's the major one back in January. And it was the southwest of England that got hit the worst, and it's the West Cornwall bit, which is where I am. And we went through pretty serious storm in that period of time. We lost power for about 4 days, and a lot of structural damage came through. Thankfully the house was good, but the fence didn't. But as you can see here, we had a brand new fence put in, and that's back up and running now, so we're all good. Things get knocked about a bit, don't they? Structures take a hit, and you realise quite quickly that you're not in control of any of this. I think we're just involved. So as you can see, we ended up replacing quite a lot of the fence, and which is in a slightly unexpected way, which left me with quite a lot of bit of spare wood, in actual fact. So if you keep bonsai, it doesn't stay spare for very long. So slowly, I've started putting together some new bench space down there. Nothing fancy, just practical, and but it's given the trees a bit more room, slightly better home than they had before. Now, there was one tree though that nearly didn't make it. Now, this Juniper rigida, the infamous spiky foliage, which literally makes you feel like you're a pincushion, this Juniper started showing signs of something really wasn't right, and I think you could probably see that in the video I did when I was attempting to do some pretty dire wiring on it on the last one. Nothing dramatic at first, but just the feeling you get when something is a bit off. I think this is where bonsai gets a bit uncomfortable, because sometimes doing nothing is the worst thing that you can do. And I think we're all being guilty of that from time to time, me an exception. So I went back to some advice that I read. I made a decision to step in. Now, this was some advice that I found from a really great book. It's called Junipers. It's called Growing and Styling Juniper Bonsai, and I'll put a picture up in it shortly, just to show you. But there's a guy called Tomio Yamada, and he had the same situation, and as a really good bit of advice and step-by-step instruction on what he did in order to bring back a tree that is similar to this, so and properly. So I ended up doing a full emergency repot. Every bit of soil was removed, every single piece, and typically I couldn't video it at that point, and it would have been a really good video in actual fact to show that, but there was just no opportunity to video that when I was doing it, because obviously it's a bit of a distressing point. A tree like this is probably very, very old and very valuable in not just in monetary value, but from a personal point of view. So the pot was completely cleaned, and it was completely disinfected with a blend of bleach water, and then the roots were just completely. There were some aspects, I think, essentially it was a root rot problem, I think, which is usually the case with these if they get too wet. And with the winter we've just had, I'm surprised that we're probably not going to get more of those problems with junipers with the amount of water we've had. So then back into a very, very, very free draining mix, and it's what I had at the time, and a lot of it was perlite. I even used a bit of the hydrolica, but yeah, Kiryu grit. There's pretty much nothing in it. There's no organic material whatsoever. And then followed by a very antifungal approach. Now, all the details are in that book, but it involves some antifungal treatment, along with some Super Thrive and various hormonal chemical concoction, which I'll give the details in the description, or as a little extra slide on this video. Just give it that support to encourage recovery. Now, this isn't something you do lightly, because there is every chance you'll lose the tree. But so far, it's holding on. It's had new growth over the past growing season last year. And with bonsai, that's sometimes just something as much as you can ask for. There is some dieback, and you do absolutely expect that. And as you can see, there's definitely some dieback there. But yeah, we have some new growth. Even in March right now, you can see it. So the rest of the trees have been doing what trees do. Yeah, some have pushed on really well, some have slowed down a bit, and a few are taking their time deciding what they really want to do. But yeah, but the larch in particular has changed quite a significant amount since its repot. Really putting on a beautiful fresh growth right now, and this is at its peak from what I feel is for larches. I love it, this pine. But not in the ways you notice on a day-by-day basis, but just to step back. It's a little different to what I worked on last time. Obviously, it's got all the foliage now, and it's beautifully in position now with all the lovely wiring. And the larch forest in particular looking really nice this time of year. As you know, larches always peak at this point, usually around late March, which is a really great time. They're just unfurling. The needle's just coming out beautifully. Still tight, but still very, very spectacular this time of year. And then there are the ones that are still becoming Japanese maple air layers, which are being continually cut back and now sprouting from a very stubby base, which is nice. Starting to establish themselves now. Got a few of them here, all there. Also got a group of pine seedlings. So yeah, got some pine seedlings, which I grew from seed. There you go, really nice, and contorted in their sort of weird way that they do, grown on from scratch. Slightly different kind of, which is a slightly different kind of patience altogether. Okay. Chinese elms here, starting to leaf out really nicely now, really fresh new growth, beginning to develop some strength. And there's something quite satisfying about that stage when they just go from being a cutting to something that clearly has decided to grow, which is always nice. And just in case, there's a juniper cutting. Sounds like a bit of a backup plan, not something you want to really think about, but that was a cutting from the Juniper rigida. So if the worst should have happened, then there's always continuity, which is always nice to know. And then there's of course the flowering cherry, which is full of blossom this year. Looked incredible, and I completely missed filming it, which is probably a reminder not everything needs to be captured. It's a reminder that not everything needs to be captured. And then there's the larger Japanese maple, just coming into leaf now, nicely. This is one of those moments that makes the whole thing all worth it again, I think. And that's just looking lovely. So you don't always see progress when you're in it, whether that's with trees or anything else. But give it time, and something's always happening, even if it's just beneath the surface. But no, I didn't disappear. I didn't give up on bonsai. Just didn't stop working on the trees either. It's just that stopped sharing it for a while. Work's been really busy. But I'm not just going to promise to work into a schedule for the videos, obviously, but hopefully I'll be able to document things again, and as and when they happen. Because I think when you leave something alone for a while, you come back and I think you see it differently. And anyway, let's see where this goes.